Yes, it's Rory again, and we are here back for more interviews for Festival da Canção. And this time around, we are going to be speaking to the fantastic Fado Bicha. Hello, olá, como
Hello,
está?
Rory. Hello, everyone.
Como está?
Congratulations on your Portuguese pronunciation. It's perfect.
Oh, muito obrigado. Yeah, I was in Lisbon not even last month, so I'm hoping to go in time, maybe for the final of Festival da Canção. Maybe we'll see. Well, fingers crossed. Anyway, but yes. So Fado Bicha will be trying to represent Portugal with their song "Povo Pequenino," and I guess the sort of main thing to sort of kick us off about this kind of thing is. You were invited by RTP to sort of submit a song for Festival da Canção. How was that? How did it feel?
Well, we had last year, we had submitted a song because you know that there are some slots that they reserve for spontaneous submissions of songs by anyone who lives in Portugal. And we submitted a song to participate in Festival da Canção, but it wasn't accepted. We weren't selected. And this year it was a bit surprising for me, to be honest, because I think back then when we weren't submitted, I kind of created this idea that maybe they weren't, I will say, bold enough to think that they could have a project like ours, which is kind of disruptive in this national platform, which Festival da Canção is. So I thought that maybe we wouldn't go, at least in the near future. So it was surprising for me that they would invite us directly, and they were very warm when they approached us, and they said that they really liked us and they had liked the song very much, the one that we had submitted before, and they would really be wanting us to participate in Festival da Canção. So we were surprised and we were excited at the same time, and we didn't say yes like immediately. We took some time, some poker face to think about it, but then we kind of also felt that it was then again bold, and we were happy that they did this invitation to us, because it hasn't started yet, but we know that there will be some controversy around us and around the song we bring. So it's great to know that the public television is willing to broaden their reception to different kinds of artists.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds so fantastic that, you guys have been able to sort of be included in the whole thing. I was reading sort of about your bio. The sort of project it's a lot about sort of the empowerment and the sort of representation of LGBT people in Fado. Is that basically unheard of in the genre?
Yes, even the name, it calls Fado Bicha, and Bicha is a slur that we have in Portuguese. It's an insult to that the people named for the gay man, but special the feminine gay man, and Fado on the opposite side, with like this conservative song, the national symbol of Portugal, and we mix the both. It's already a big thing and political thing, of course. And Bicha, it's our identities that too much time of our lives we put outside of the art that we did. I already been on the Fado's house playing Fado and singing Fado, and this identity was always outside of the art that I was doing, and now mix this identity with the music and art that we are doing. This brought a lot of layers. Activist layers about LGBT communities, questions about colonialism, the story of Portugal in the past, the racist thing. So it started to develop a lot of thinking about these layers, and it was what happened.
It sounds so interesting because it sounds like it just has never been really talked about before. So it's offering a really interesting sort of platform to do it, and to do it in Festival da Canção, which is watched by however many people in Portugal. It's definitely like opening an opportunity to talk about these kinds of things.
Well, maybe.
Fingers crossed. We'd like to think that maybe it might be a little bit more open potentially, but so sort of talking about Povo Pequenino, what is the sort of message of your song, and what are you hoping that people sort of take from it?
Well, our song is quite openly an intervention song, as our project is also quite openly a project of intervention through art and through Fado specifically, because just complementing what João was saying, Fado is an old music genre based in, it's an urban music genre, like dating back to more than 200 years ago here in Lisbon, although it has its roots across mostly the Afro-Brazilian community. And throughout most of its time, or at least the beginning, half of it, let's say, it was very much connected to the outcast of the society and to this idea of the fringes of society. And then during the dictatorship last century, it was kind of appropriated by the dictatorship, because they knew its potential, let's say, and they kind of twisted it and used it to be a song or a genre that would from one side symbolize Portugal, and kind of, because Fado it's considered like very Portuguese and the Portuguese national music genre, but it's actually very specific of some places of Portugal. It's not, let's say, generalized culturally to the whole of the country. So they kind of made it into this national symbol, and at the same time reinforcing different ideas, as in the glorification of poverty, the traditional family values, the grandeur of Portugal and its colonial history, all of this. Our song comes not exactly, it's not exactly, it doesn't take on musical structures or symbols of Fado specifically. For this one, we were more inspired by typical and traditional intervention music of Portugal from the 70s, like around the time of the revolution, and also traditional folkloric music from the north of Portugal, which is called, this one specifically is called Malhão. It's exactly from the north of Portugal. And we kind of mix both, so that's why the song also sounds differently in different parts of the song. And it's basically a song through which we express our frustration with, generally with our lack of ability collectively to think and, daily complexify and reflect on what freedom really means. We have this, it's very present in our culture, this idea of freedom, and we have the revolution, and we have the carnations and the slogans for freedom and no more fascism, and etc. This is very present in Portugal. But then, and this became very clear now with the rise of a neo-fascist party, which in the elections of last Sunday became the third political force in Portugal. We feel that we really haven't been able collectively to to have, of course, also because of capitalism, but to have a proper reflective collective notion of what freedom really is. And it's daily evolving, because it's not a state. Freedom is never a state. It's always a process. And so we were very frustrated about this rise of the extreme right in Portugal. And so the song is born out of this, just in a way comparing our past and seeing that our present isn't exactly what we hoped it would be, and what maybe we think it is. We don't think it is like that.
Yeah, it sounds really like, it's almost like you're trying to hold up a mirror to people and say, like,
yeah,
well,
exactly.
this isn't exactly something that, we should take for granted. We've had to work for it, and there's still stuff that's wrong with it. So it's definitely a very interesting way of going about it and talking about these kinds of things. So, you know, kudos basically for being able to write something so striking, sort of lyrically. So I guess the sort of thing to sort of go forward now is, you know, what have you kind of got to do with the sort of staging? Like, have you got any surprises planned for us? I mean, in the pictures that you've been showing off to like RTP and in Festival da Canção already, like you've been looking very striking sort of visually. So are we expecting anything kind of similar to that, or are we going to get something completely different?
Well, we don't know yet.
Of course we do.
But all the things we don't know yet.
Okay.
But we will use this guitar. You can show this guitar. It's made in the north of Portugal too, with the oil cans. So it's a really particular thing. Oil can, yeah, sorry. Yes, and our clothes will be like
it will be a lot like
our shows.
Yeah, we decided that we didn't want to create something very conceptual and with a specific narrative. Like the song has its own specific narrative, and it's a strong one. So we wanted also to bring to the stage kind of how we are like on shows. Like our project started in 2017, and since then we have done more than 200 shows, also outside of Portugal. And so we wanted to bring a little bit to the stage of RTP, our practice live. So it will be a lot like our shows live. Of course, there will be some surprises and some visual cues as well to, let's say, not only help, but also complexify the message and kind of give some visual cues to the message as well, to make it more emotional in a way. So yeah, we will be using some maybe some videos and some lights and some props that we will have on stage as well. So I think it will be quite upbeat and at the same time striking and emotional, I hope.
That sounds so interesting. I'm already so excited to see what's coming up, really. Wow. And imagine then, as soon as if you were to go to Eurovision as well, I'm assuming that would be just so much more like sort of blown up, and it'll be just it feels as if it's like it feels like it's an upbeat song, so it could very much like deal with like, you know, like a good sort of staging where it's like upbeat and happy, but also with this dark undertone as well. Like there's so many options that you could go down. It sounds really interesting. So like, what would be your sort of earliest memories of Eurovision, and you know, if you were to go to Eurovision, what would that mean for you?
Well, for me personally, I remember when I was a kid, like growing up, both Festival da Canção and Eurovision were a big thing in Portugal, and it was like a family night program to watch Festival da Canção and to watch Eurovision as well. I remember being very little and having like a sheet of paper and just drawing a table with the points and counting the points of the countries. For me, I have that memory and that reference about Eurovision, and it's also like I remember one other show that was that aired when I was a kid, Jogos Sem Fronteiras, which was like, I don't know, maybe you remember it as well. It was like there were teams from different countries and they did all these kinds of games, like there was water games and I don't know the name of it in
it's like Jeux Sans Frontières, is it?
Exactly.
Yes. I know it well.
It had this thing of, you know, being part of a collective, which was Europe, and like Portugal is very peripheral in Europe, where like we have Spain as neighbors, and then the next one is quite far, so we feel kind of peripheral, or at least we have felt, historically speaking. And this, both Eurovision and that game, like Games Without Borders or whatever the name was, gave this notion of being a part of this group of countries, and then as other countries got involved, it was also a chance for people to connect, like, I don't know, to connect with countries that we have no connection like Azerbaijan or Lithuania, or so for me it has that side as well. I would like that if countries could bring more and more songs that would connect to their, you know, cultural practices and not follow a specific or one or two specific mainstream globalized genres of music. But still, it's for me, it has that side of multicultural experience.
And for me, that's that side. It's funny because the Eurovision, they have that statement. There's no political. You can't beat on political rules or something. But Conchita Wurst was really political. That all that that show and that performance, and makes me feel on that time it was like. How many years ago? I don't know,
like 5 or 6
or more, maybe.
I think it could even be as much as 8 now.
Yes, and was like the first time I think that I see on a Portuguese television show, like non-normative people, you know, like different the gender fucking gender expression, and was interesting to see. And Eurovision always bring this kind of environment, even don't be political, it's always political, so that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always good to know that the way you sort of tell your story in itself can be political. And it's quite funny because I don't know if it's the same as in Portugal, but I'm based in the UK. And the UK thinks that, oh, you know, no one likes the UK because of Brexit, and it's all political. But it is political, but it's just not political in the way that most people think that it is. So it just goes to show that, you know, there's so much more that's sort of at play, really. So sort of 2 final questions. One, if someone listening to Povo Pequenino really enjoyed it and they wanted to listen to a new song or like another song from your repertoire, what song would you point them towards?
Oh wow, we haven't been asked that. I would say if it's a person who doesn't speak Portuguese, we released an EP last year in October, which was a collaboration with an arts magazine from the United States called Headmaster, and they invited us to create a song for their 9th edition, which was 2021. But instead, we created a whole EP of 9 songs because, well, there's more story to that. But if people are interested, you can find it in our social networks. And this EP is called Every Name is Punishment. And it's half in Portuguese, half in English, and it's available in Spotify and all the other platforms. And although it's very different from what we usually do on stage, I would say that it's interesting because it's half in English, so maybe it's more approachable, and also it kind of, although it's like a narrative, it's a story that unfolds from the 1st to the 9th song, but it kind of forecasts a little bit like our main topics of interest and our songwriting style, and also our experimentation, because it's very experimental.
Yeah.
And if you still have time after that, you can watch the music video for Lila Fadista, which was the first single from our first LP, let's say. And it's on YouTube, and we believe it's a very beautiful work of art, and it's very meaningful for us as well.
Oh, it just sounds like you have like such love in your work for what you do, and I think it comes across so easily and so beautifully. So yeah, so just one final question. What sort of message would you like to sort of give to our readers over at that Eurovision site?
I think the things that make us to go to the Festival da Canção and this Eurovision world was the possibility then and open doors to the other people to listen or to are doing music, queer music in Lisbon, in Portugal. And it's like it's inviting to listen our music, but the music from the queer people from Portugal. It's amazing that we are doing our days in Portugal. Yeah. That would be that.
Let's say we could be kind of a door to that community and to that practice of queer music
and underground
in Portugal. Yeah, underground. Yes.
Definitely, yeah. And I think, you know, if hopefully, fingers crossed, if I get to go back to Lisbon in March, I will definitely be checking out a lot more queer music in Lisbon, because there was very unheard of at the time. So that's fantastic. Well, muito obrigado e boa sorte. And know that you'll have a fantastic time. I will be watching with such anticipation. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you do very well. And
thank you, Rory.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. It means a lot. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.